Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, we're just out doing a bit of work on our Massey Ferguson 178 today. We are replacing some of the old hydraulic hoses. So every hydraulic hose on this has gradually blown. I haven't had it for very long, and I've sort of been patching it together as best I can until I can sort of do some fairly major repairs to it. This is one of the new hoses that we have made up and put on, and this has a reusable hydraulic fitting on it. These other ones here are crimp fittings. So you put the fitting into the hose and there's a big machine that squashes that up tight and holds it on. These ones are not reusable. However, when you're finished with them, don't throw them out because you can cut the crimp off and you're left with the inner bit, which sometimes can be reused. It's useful just to have them around for various weird jobs that you might need, or weird repairs that you might need to do. Now, these are the most common ones you can get. These are, let me bring it into the sun a bit more. These are cheaper than the reusable fittings, and these hold a higher pressure than the reusable fittings. However, I have never had a reusable fitting that has failed on me without a good reason. The advantage with the reusable fittings is you can put them on your farm. You don't, with these ones you need to run into town and get your local hydraulic or mechanic specialist to fit them for you and make up the hoses. These ones, when they fail, you can fix them on the farm without having to go anywhere. And often the hoses will fail at this point where where they come out of the fitting and they've got a bit of a bend on them, or something happens. These bits are often vulnerable. So sometimes you can just cut the hose back a bit and put the fitting straight back on. So I'm going to show you now how to fit these onto your hose. Okay, so you can buy rolls of hose by the metre from eBay, and it's reasonably cheap. I usually buy 20-metre rolls of it, this is reasonably good quality and it's not that expensive. You can get shorter lengths of it as well. When you get a roll, you just cut to length what you need and keep the roll for making up other hoses. So I'll show you how to cut it now. Now, to cut this hose, this is 2-wire. You need to make sure you get the fittings that match the hose you've got too. I always get the 2-wire hose. That holds a lot more pressure than the single wire. I just run 2-wire on all my machinery. The best way to cut it is with a thin bladed angle grinder blade and just a very small amount of pressure on there. You don't want to fray the wires in here as you cut them. You want to actually cut them. So just light pressure so that it has time to cut. And as it cuts, I can't do it the way I normally would because the camera's in the way, just bend one side of the hose back a little bit to open up the joint in here so that it keeps cutting through. Okay, so we've cut our hose and we've just given it a very slight bevel on the end to clean up any wires. If we come up, see if I can get that in focus, you can see the end of the steel braid, the 2 layers of steel braid in the hose on the end there. So we want to just hold it in our vise. Now these are the two pieces of the hydraulic fitting. This piece screws on first and it has a left-hand thread in it. Then we want to screw this piece in, and we need to make sure when we've screwed this piece on, it does tend to distort the inner piece of the pipe a little bit. So we need to make sure that we get this piece down inside the pipe. If you get it off a little bit and start trying to screw it on, it will actually pull this piece off instead of screwing this piece in. So the first thing we need, but when you're doing these hoses, you end up with as much oil on as if you'd blown one. So we want to put a good bit of oil inside our fitting and a bit inside our pipe and around the outside of our pipe. This just helps everything go together. Now some of these fittings go on really easily. This particular brand is a little bit more tricky. It doesn't have a very good lead in on the outside. But we want to just basically slip it over the pipe and screw it on. Now this being a left-hand thread, we are turning it anti-clockwise to screw it on. You want a bit of downward pressure to just help it start. We screw this good. We want to screw this all the way down. We don't want to do it up tight because it will just strip the outside rubber off. Then we want to back it off half a turn. Now, some fittings you need to back off a full turn. These ones I've found that you do. The good quality ones you only need to back off half a turn. We want to put a good bit of oil on here as well. Now this is a normal right-hand thread. Often I get a screwdriver and just make sure that there's nothing, that the edge of the inside of the hose hasn't folded over, so that this can slip straight in. So we want to slip this in next, and we want to make sure everything is sitting straight so that we have the best chance we can of getting it down where it needs to go. And it doesn't feel quite like it is at the moment. Now, we want to screw this in a little way, not too far. Then we're going to back it off a little bit. And we're going to do this fitting up the extra turn that we undid it. We don't want to do it up too tight or we will still strip the rubber off. I'll just back this one off a little bit further. Now, whenever I do this, I take note how far around I've moved the spanner so I know where it should be roughly. And then we just need to screw this fitting right down tight, all the way down. Okay, so here's our finished fitting. When we've got it fully on, we want to make sure that this nut is screwed hard down against this collar in here. And that fitting is ready to go and be put on the tractor. To get these apart, it's just the reverse order. Undo this piece first, then screw this piece off here. When you are reusing them, I find that, let me grab this one, there's a fairly coarse thread in here. And you often get bits of rubber from the old hose stuck in that thread. So you need to get in and make sure you've got all the pieces of rubber out before you try and screw this collar back onto a new piece of hose again. But it's a really handy way to be able to do this on the farm. You don't need to go anywhere. You can fix breakdowns within half an hour. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.